Okay, so one of your classmates was asking me about our quiz and our test for this week. The quiz is a reading comprehension activity. That's what most of the quizzes are going to be. So you'll read this little paragraph about a student from Spain who's describing her math class, and after you read her description of her math class, you complete the sentences by selecting the appropriate answer. So you'll read this little bit about Lucia Hernandez, and then you'll read the statements below, and there's a piece missing, and below are possible answers that would complete the statement above, and you just pick whichever one would best complete it. Then the second piece, it's El Mundo Hispano. Read the following passage about the Hispanic world. Based on the information given, decide if each of the following statements are cierto or falso, and if the information is not given, select no se menciona. So you read the following statements below after reading the paragraph and decide whether the statements are true, false, or not mentioned. And then your test. Your test is on the first part of chapter 1, so it'll cover, I don't have my book open right now, so I do not know exactly which pages, but it goes from that first section when you see the second set of vocabulary, which I think is the classroom vocabulary, the second set of vocabulary, that's when you can stop reviewing in your book. I'll pull it up in a minute anyway. So the first section is ¿Qué hay en el escritorio? You remember you had classroom vocabulary. So there's a picture here, and there's various items on the desk, and it's a listening piece. You'll listen.
En el escritorio hay 3 lápices.
So it'll tell you that there's something on the desk, and then you decide whether what was stated was true or false based upon the picture. The next section are los objetos en la clase, so you just fill in, this is vocabulary, so you just look at each of the items pictured and write what they are. That comes straight from your text. The next section, la clase de la profesora Rivera. Read the following description of a classroom and answer the questions using the information in the paragraph. So it's going to ask you some questions based on this little description here, and you need to write out an answer. It doesn't say that it needs to be in complete sentences. However, it does need to be in Spanish. I'll have students sometimes who write these in English, and since we're in Spanish class, we need to write our answers in Spanish. The next one is los pronombres de sujeto. Matthew, a beginning Spanish student, wrote a short letter to a new friend to practice the verb ser. However, he forgot to include the subject pronouns. Help him by filling in the appropriate subject pronouns in his letter. So you'll look at the various verbs that are next to the blank and decide what subject pronoun would get that spelling of the verb. Then the correct form of the verb ser, you're just going to fill in the correct spelling of ser based upon who the subject of the verb is. Remember, if it's a statement, you tend to find your subject in front of the verb, and if it's a question, it tends to come after the verb. So if it's a statement, you're going to be looking before the blank for your subject, and if it is an question, you're going to look after the blank. Okay. Okay, and then down here, the next one, you're going to practice your indefinite articles. Those are your unas, una, unos, unas. You'll plug in one of those in the sentences below. Then down here, it's the artículo definido. That's your el, la, los, and las. So you'll read these sentences and plug in either el, la, los, or las. Here it says sabes formar el singular y el plural. So some of these sentences are plural, some are singular. You're going to be switching back and forth. If this sentence is plural, you're going to change it so that it's singular, and if the sentence is singular, you're going to make it plural. And there's a lot of pieces here, so be very careful, because you're probably, if you're changing it, you've got to change your article, you've got to change your noun, you've got to change your verb, and you're going to have to change whatever adjectives have been used in the sentence. Down here, fill in the blanks in the following paragraph with a logical adjective. You'll read these sentences, pick an adjective from the blank, and complete it. Remember that some of these adjectives have been made plural, so they are going to need to be used to describe a plural noun. Descriptions of students. You're going to complete the descriptions of the university students with the correct word from the word bank. Again, you're dealing with adjectives, and adjectives have to agree with the nouns they describe. So you'll need to make sure that whomever is realistic or extroverted, that the spelling of the adjective matches that person. So you don't want to pick a feminine adjective to describe a male student, for example, or a singular adjective to describe a plural subject. And that's it. So, and let me just go show you really quickly your text. I should just cover the first part of chapter 1. So if I pull up my e-text here, I'm sorry, that's taking a few minutes. We started chapter 1. You should be able to go from chapter, I think, 2 up until the second part, which is on page 20. So you're going to go basically from 2 to page 19 is what you'll be responsible for. Anything from, let me pull this up here, 20 on will be on the next test, will be on test 2. So you shouldn't have any vocabulary like this one that covers calculator, computer. This vocabulary won't be on the test 1. This will be on test 2. So just study pages 2 through 19.